Good day to all of you. Thank you once again for joining me. Well, we have a lovely viral act of kindness today. I want to share this was posted yesterday on our YouTube by S. Liu, who talks about a fellow who is on lockdown in the UK, and he never knew his next door neighbor. So for the last month, they've been communicating from their balconies, and they've gotten to know each other, enjoying conversation and friendship. Then he found out that his neighbor has terminal cancer and has, I will add, supposedly only 3 months to live. He said it has changed him completely and taught him that the only thing of worth in life is love. He's going to quit his job and stop doing things for money, and to quote him, going to go out there and love people. A butterfly is born. How lovely is that? So, can you imagine a hospital with an empty emergency room at the height of the coronavirus pandemic? A friend of mine happens to be the information officer at a local hospital. And she said that, when the virus was coming on, the pandemic was coming on, they asked people to please not come in to the emergency room unless necessary, because they were preparing for the COVID patients. What happened on this particular island, fortunately, there's been a very low incidence of coronavirus. And so essentially the hospital has been empty, the emergency room has been empty. And she said something really interesting happened. She said that now they're looking for business for people to come to the hospital. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? And she said a lot of people perhaps had emergencies that at another time they would have come to the ER for, but for two reasons. One is they might have been afraid to get coronavirus by going to the hospital, or two, they might have been in kindness attempting to make space for COVID patients. But the point is, there were a lot of people who could have chosen to call this situation an emergency and come to the ER, but they didn't. And so this really calls into question is it possible that a lot of things that we think are emergencies are not? These people fared well. Maybe they had a broken ankle or who knows what. They couldn't sleep, but they chose to ride it out. They got spirit to heal them, and they did not need to call it an emergency. And so I have been discovering and playing with the idea over the years that drama is a choice. What about that? So I had a lawnmower guy who used to fix my lawnmowers. And I was supposed to go pick my lawnmower up one day, and he closes at 5 o'clock, and I was running late. And I called him. I said, look, I'll be there after 5 if that's okay. And he said something interesting to me. He said, no dramas, mate. No dramas, mate. Now, I hadn't heard that expression before. In the U.S., we say no worries or no problem. Maybe it's an Australian expression. No dramas, mate. And so it calls into question, is it really true that we need to live with drama? And drama is such a big part of so many of our lives. I went through a period years ago when I was getting upset about something different every day. And Dee called me on it. She says, yesterday you worried about a certain bill and the day before a certain participant, and you weren't feeling well the day before. She said, seems like, Alan, you're having a little drama every day. And she was right. And I realized that part of me wanted to have a drama, so every day I found something else different to have a drama about. And so I was reminded of the Course in Miracles lesson. I am never upset for the reason I think. I'm never upset. We make up reasons to be upset, but it's because we want to be upset. Now, I was once on an interview show, a radio show as a guest, and someone called in and asked the host, who was kind of a psychologist in his own right, why is there so much road rage? And the host came up with an amazing answer. He said, because people want to be angry And the road rage is a good excuse to express your anger. Wow, that really nailed it. So I began to think about what is a drama and what do we get out of it and why do we create it and do we really have to? So let's do a little dissection of the anatomy of a drama. Well, first of all, there's good guys and bad guys. Now, in the big picture of things, that's just not true. Only on the surface level of human interaction are the good guys and bad guys. And you remember, there's a Jedi in the Empire. And when I was a kid, I used to watch lots of Westerns, and all the good guys would have white hats and all the guys would have black hats. And so there's this polarity in which two forces of apparently equal power seem to be opposing each other. And there's this question about which one will win. And, we watch lots of dramas and movies and television and novels, and there's always something that goes wrong. Like you cannot have a drama and not have a movie unless something goes wrong. And so I want to call into question this whole consciousness that something goes wrong that can overtake us if we're not careful. Now, this is another name for this is challenge. The good guy in a drama is always challenged. And if you feel like you're the protagonist of your drama, something is challenging you. There's an antagonist that's bugging you. Now, the Course in Miracles has something really, really fascinating to say about this. It says that challenge is never an appropriate term for a child of God. Wow. Challenge is never an appropriate term for a child of God, meaning that if you are aligned with your true self and you're in your power as a divine being and you know that you're connected to Source, nothing can challenge God. What they say, God and you are a majority. And so when we realign and recognize that we are expressions of God, and there really is only one power in the universe. All the great yogis say this, all the great spiritual masters. Jesus said, I and the Father are one. And what he was saying was that there's only one power, and we make up stories of an opposing power, but it's only because we've created that story with our mind. Who knows why? We want to have a drama. We find it interesting for some aberrant reason. And so we make up a story of opposing powers, and now we play it out, and God wins, and da. But is it really necessary to go through all that to recognize the presence and the power and God, of God? Now, my friend Robert Holden, dear British fellow, says, I noticed there's a big difference between news in England and news in the U.S. He says, news in England is pretty much cut and dried and matter of fact. He says, in the U.S., news is entertainment. They got to scare you. They got to get your attention. They got to show you the bloodiest images. They got to talk about the worst crimes. He says there's no difference in the U.S. between news and entertainment. And I thought that's a pretty good distinction between facts and drama. Now, I'm a big fan of Barack Obama. I thought he was an amazing president. I'm not politically oriented especially, but I really liked him as a man of dignity and integrity and character. I watched his speeches because I thought he was a very cool dude. And I listened to politics second, but I watched his mannerisms first. And they called him No Drama Obama. And that was his nickname because he would just deal with everything in a cool manner. Now, there are certain other political regimes that have dramas, big dramas every day. And, those dramas don't help anybody. Calm, coolness, and kindness wins, ultimately. There's a wonderful Tai Chi teacher named Al Huang, Huang. And he came to America as a young man from China. And he made his way here. And he taught millions of people Tai Chi. And I saw him, by the way, he's in not my movie, but a movie I'm in called Finding Joe. It's a wonderful documentary about the teachings of Joseph Campbell, and I'm in it, and he's in it. And by the way, that Finding Joe documentary is now for free on YouTube. Highly recommended. The best evening's entertainment, Finding Joe. Anyway, Al Long is another presenter, and I saw Al present many, many years ago in Princeton University, and it was a big psychology conference, and he was in a large gym, Princeton University gym, and he was on a ping pong table. He was demonstrating Tai Chi, and they set up this ping pong table in the middle of the gym. And in the middle of his demonstration, half of the ping pong table collapsed, half of which he was standing on. And I'll never forget, he was just so smooth, and he just kind of gently flowed to the side of the table that was still standing. And there's never been a better demonstration of flow. There was no jump. He could have jumped off the table and screamed. He could have yelled to the people who didn't put the table up properly, but there was no drama. He just kind of flowed to the opposite side of the table. So no dramas doesn't mean that we avoid the world. We still have decisions to make. There's this pandemic that's been going on. We have to decide how we're going to relate to it. You're going to wear a mask or you're not. You want to protect yourself. You maybe want to help some people who are having troubles. There's an election coming up. You're going to vote in it, hopefully, one way or the other. And so you still have to have decisions in life, but they do not have to be drama-laden. You can kind of cruise through life with the Tao. Now, a few years ago, Dee and I decided to move to the Big Island from Maui, and we found a house that we really liked. And we inquired about it, and the agent told us that it was under contract. And we were disappointed. We thought, well, if it's ours, we'll get it. If not, we won't. That was it. And then a week later, the agent called us and said it fell out of escrow. It's yours if you want it. So we ended up getting this lovely house, and then we had to fly our family of dogs over from Maui. And we were trying to figure out how to do it. And do we go on an airplane? Do we go to commercial air flight? Do we put the kids in a crate and go back and forth? We had 6 dogs at the time. So I got to brainstorm. We hired a small Cessna, 4-seater Cessna. And this guy flew over from the Big Island and picked us up at Maui Airport and flew us to this little airstrip of the north of Big Island. And it was the most fun flight, and we had a great time. It all worked. And he even said, hey, yeah, by the way, call the office and give me a credit card number. They didn't even take our money beforehand. And the whole thing was just seamless. Our realtor picked us up, put our dog in his car, and drove us to our new house. Seamless, 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 seamless. No drama, no drama, no drama. And that's how easy things can be if you let them. I'm not saying I let everything be that easy, but that was a good example of letting something be easy when it doesn't have to be hard. So who is one of the great teachers of no drama but Yoda, our famous character Yoda? And I pulled a couple of quotes of his. And he said, anger, fear, and aggression, the dark side are they. Once you start down the dark path forever, will it dominate your destiny? And then there's that most famous scene when from The Empire Strikes Back where Luke cannot raise the ship from the mud, from the swamp, and Yoda raises it seamlessly because he knows how to use the Force. The Force is with him. And he says, my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Now, the best line Yoda ever said, luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force flow around you, here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, the ship, even between the land and the ship. Luminous beings are we. And finally he said, death is a natural part of life. Rejoice for those around you who transform into the Force. Mourn them, do not. Miss them, do not. And so, easier said than done, of course, but even life transformation does not have to be dramatic. So what if we move through this coronavirus time and this economy time with grace and ease? What if we didn't have to have a big drama around it? What if we asked God to guide us and God to help people? And what if we could cruise back into our better life with dignity and poise and character? No dramas, mate. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in.